guys, welcome back for another episode, number 5, and hopefully to this episode we'll be taking it down to rego check. We've just got a few more things to do on it. Last little bits and pieces. We've got two main things that I can think of at the moment anyway. I'm going to go over and cut and polish with a rotary the whole car. I'm going to go over the whole car, make it as nice as possible. The paint's all pretty damaged and neglected, so you can see it's got like a pretty decent haze on it. So we've got some paint correction, and then we're going to assess that oil leak and fix that oil leak. I don't want to do the oil leak, it's frustrating me, so I'm going to start with the paint. Something I've never done before. I've never used a rotary or electric polisher. I'll show you what I bought in a minute. Just down at Supercheap, they had something on special. I did a little bit of research. Some of the battery operated ones are pretty crappy, so I got a real heavy duty electric one, 180mm disc. Let's get stuck into it. As I said, I've never done it before, so I've been watching a few YouTube videos and hopefully I don't wreck the paint, although it's pretty wrecked anyway. I just want it to look as nice as possible so that it can carry us through to the full respray that we'll do on it when we get the body kit and everything as well. So obviously if you've just joined us and you haven't seen any other videos, we're going to be doing a full kit on this. We're going to do the GDR front, R34 GDR front bar conversion with some front quarters, the Z-Tune front quarters, which are wider, so we can get some better offset wheels in there. Certain rear bar that changes the back of the shape of the car a lot. And then obviously the side skirts to suit. At the moment, I don't think I'll be doing any rear bolt-on quarters. I'm gonna lip the rear guards as much as possible with the guard roller. Again, we wanna do all that before paint. So I just wanna get this paint nice and glossy and as shiny and as corrected as possible, because it is a little bit chalky and it's got lots of dents and marks and scratches and chips. So I'm not going to stress out too much. Just get it looking as nice as possible for now. This is my little arsenal of goodies. This is probably one of the best budget polishers that I could see that anyone recommended. So this is a 1200 watt, which is pretty massive, and 180mm disc surface, which again is pretty bloody huge. 3-year warranty, all from Supercheap. We just get another 3-piece kit, which comes with everything else we need. So I'm not sure how much of the car we're going to be able to do with this until they start wearing out, but we'll figure it out as we go. Car's clean, I've washed the car. We're going to go over and clay bar the whole car. So clay barring basically with some soapy water and a microfiber cloth as well afterwards to get rid of the residue, but the clay bar will just pick up all the little imperfections in the car. So if I run my hand over that car now, it feels rough, and we want it to feel really, really smooth so we don't polish any of that crap into the paint further. Again, doesn't really matter too much, but this is what we're going to use, the Meguiar's Ultimate Compound. I mean, if it does anything like what it does on that picture for our car, I'll be more than happy. So that's going to be pretty good. I'm just going to be real careful not to burn the paint and keep the polishing applicator or the surface flat on the paint. That's going to be our biggest thing. So again, I'm learning as I go. Fingers crossed we don't stuff it out too much. I got a bunch of these so we can make sure that we clean the surface. Main thing I want to do is this new door that we put on is definitely a different white, so we'll try and get that polished up and glossed up. I reckon it's been sitting around for a while. I've done the door and a quarter and the bonnet by hand. We've got a bit of shine on it, but it's still really rough and dirty, so we'll just go over, and I need to do the front bar as well because that frustrates me. We'll see what we get in this box, make sure we've got everything we need before we get too deep into it. The more you look into cut and polishing and paint correction, the deeper the rabbit hole. So I sort of tried to limit myself as to how much I was learning. So we've got a nice wall applicator, hook and loop disc, got some instructions. I actually get spare brushes with this one too. Oh my god, that's heavy. Wow. Looks pretty bloody solid. Look at the size of that bolt on the end. So you got a finger trigger and a lock as well, which is really cool. And that's that little inspection hole on the side is where you can change the brushes out. We'll get this all set up. Looks like 3 different types. So we've got the polisher, we've got like a coarser one, and then we've got a bumpy one. I think everything I read said this is the one to use. All right, so clay bar. Little packet, literally clay. I wasn't sure what to expect. I've never used a clay bar before, but again, all my research just said we want soapy water. We want to fold this in half, and then we just want to wipe over with the soapy water, wipe the clay bar over the paint, and that should pick up all the imperfections in the paint. And when you can see all the crap on the clay bar, you just fold it over and keep going. Let's give that a go. Crazy how much difference that makes just from clay barring. So have a look at this. I don't know if you'll be able to hear this. I don't know if you can hear that on camera or not, but you can physically hear my hand roughing over the paint as it was. And then on this side, it's smooth as silk. So we'll keep going. I won't bore you with the whole car. I'll just do a time lapse maybe going over the whole car with that clay bar. It's going to take a bit of time. I won't bore you through that. Hopefully it's all good by the end of it. Well, the clay bar's all done, that's all good. Changed my shirt so I don't get the other one dirty. We're ready to do this applicator. I'm already breaking the first rule that I learned. So in my own little YouTube class that I was learning about just the basics, it says do in a really, really well lit area. And it specifically says a garage fluoro light, that one, is not adequate. We'll be right, we'll figure it out. But I'm really surprised at how smooth that paint is now. So we're not gonna buff any crap into it, which again, doesn't really matter, but we're gonna make it as good as we can. Let's do it. Alright. That wasn't a good start. We got some learning to do. I'm going to keep practicing. I'm going to practice again on the other side of the bonnet, and hopefully it goes a little bit better than that. I don't know if you saw that from the footage, but first spin it went everywhere. So I obviously had a little bit too much on the applicator pad. I'll tone that down a little bit and I'll dot that around on the car and we'll try and do a little bit better this time. With that stupid machine. I don't know who the hell would want to do that for a job. Really time consuming, but it's done. And I'll be honest, the car definitely looks a lot better. It's a lot glossier, it's a lot more uniform. It definitely makes all the little dents and pin dents stand out 100% more because they've got reflection around them now. But you're not going to be able to tell just by looking at it in the garage here, but I'm going to take it outside and show you what it looks like out there and see for myself if what I've done is any good. I'm expecting to see some stuff ups, if I've stuffed up the clear or done any burn marks into it or something like that, who knows. Like I said, first time doing it. The boot didn't polish up as nice as all the other panels, so it's definitely a lot shinier. All right, let's pull her out in the sun. All right guys, we are all done and sorted. So I think it came up all right for what it was. Whether it was worth all the time and effort, yeah, I mean 50-50 at the moment. It's definitely a lot glossier, a lot shinier. Looks a lot less neglected. It definitely looked neglected before. So I think overall it's probably a pretty good improvement. Whether it was worth all the time, yeah, I mean it's up to you to say, I guess. But I've put some spray on there. So we had some special like top coat glossy spray, just detailing spray from back when we got our two, like the Patrol and the Merc. We got ceramic coated when we first got them, and this is a spray that they gave to us just to squirt over the top and keep a cover on it, a nice glossy cover on it. So I've sprayed that on the car, and it does make a big difference. It's definitely a lot smoother and a lot glossier and shinier. Again, far from perfect, but it's an improvement. We'll go with that. Unfortunately, it's up to the point where I don't want to deal with it anymore. So I've got to bring it in. We've got to address this oil leak, and we are pretty much done and ready to go for VIN check. So the only other thing I need to do is those R34 brand new headlights. I really don't want to put them in, if I'm honest. Ideally, I want to put them in when we have the car painted, like fresh back from paint, and have the GDR front on it with the wheels and everything. I want to have the fresh headlights in there for then, but we'll see how we go. I've got to put them in for the VIN check because these ones aren't compliant because they've got the aftermarket HID kits in them and they're all broken and cracked anyway. So I need to put them in at least for the VIN check. When we get it back, I'll work out if I leave them in there or if I take them out and put these ones back in just to cover us until we get the paint job. Other than that, yeah, headlights and oil leak, that's all we got to do. So I'm going to bring it in and jack it right up and get right under it and have a look. Let's just have a look at our board real quick. I reckon that majority of this is all done. So our special notes, crank bolt and cam bolts, they're all torqued to spec. Grey plug near ignition lock, that's all done. Things that I need trim clips, I've done that. Rubber door stops, I need to sort them out. And I also need to get a couple of extra, actually I got the fuses. I'll lie, I got the fuses. So we're pretty much done, just those rubber stops. As far as the things to do, timing belt, water pump done, spark plugs done, ignition lock set done, driver's door done, oil and filter done, radiator hoses done. We haven't done the radiator yet. That is still on the list of things to do, but that doesn't need to be done right now. We're all good as it is. That will go in along with the GK Tech aftermarket fan as well that pulls like 40 or 50% more air. One of those black GK Tech fans, which is really cool. So I'll do that at the same time we do that. Brake fluid, we got brake fluid sitting on the bench behind us. I'll get to that when we need to. Again, I don't think that needs to be done for the VIN check. Tires all done, headlights in the spare room, fuel filters done, top cover gaskets they're done, but we do need to check them out again. Hopefully it's not one of those leaking. Detail inside the car done, clean detail engine bay. I cleaned it roughly, but I haven't done it like a full detail on it. It is clean enough to go for a VIN check though. Cut and polish car, we've just done that today. Fuel cap I'm going to leave off for a little bit just because it's a different color and I don't want too many different color panels on that one side of the car, so I'll save that for when we get the car painted. Handbrake boots definitely done. Bolt for spare wheel and the front cover for the engine will be here on Monday or Tuesday, and that's pretty much that whole list. Wow, it's actually really satisfying looking at that list. I'm going to add those prices up a little bit later down the track, but looking at that list and knowing we've done that is absolutely awesome. Let's get stuck onto this oil leak, try and knock that out, and we are pretty much good to go for a VIN check. Car off the ground. Let's hop underneath and have a look and see what we can see under here. If I can turn this light on. So straight away I can definitely see oil along there, so chances are that's blowing backwards though, because it's pretty dry above it. Although in saying that, I don't know if you can see that bolt right at the top there. That does look a little bit wet, but again that could be blowing back. All right, so that's not what I want to see. You can see just up between the harmonic balancer and the sump, just in here, it's wet. Damn. So it's something behind the timing cover, I reckon. We're gonna have to pull that front off. We're gonna have to pull the fan off, the belts, probably this radiator shroud. Everything else should be able to stay in there. And we'll just pull that front cover off and see if we can see anything. Definitely wet in there. Bugger, not what I wanted to see.
One eternity later.
This car is absolutely whooping my ass at the moment. So I managed to get the new seal fully installed. So we dismantled the whole motor. Everything was off, rocker covers off, everything done. The whole front off the motor as well. And new seal in. The front main crank seal was on a little bit of an angle, so there was a slight chance it was that. I've got everything back together. I had the whole motor back together, and then I've torqued the front harmonic balancer up, and I've gone to torque the VCT gear up, and I've gone, shit, I've got the whole motor back together. I need to put a spanner on the camshaft, which is under that rocker cover, which was under the cooler pipes, which was under all the hoses. Absolute disaster. So I'm in the process now of not wanting to burn this car. I'm just going to carefully take it back apart. We're going to flick this rocker cover off again. I'm going to torque this front bolt up in the front of the VCT gear, and we're going to throw it back together again. Deep breath. All right, we'll be good, we'll be good. Once it's back together, so I've learnt a video, which I'll post a link to below, showing that he found his VCT gear was leaking from the back of the VCT gear in the O-ring, and it actually had a lot of movement as well. And unfortunately, this one could be doing the same thing. So if this, well, I'm not gonna know until I get this motor back together and test run it and run it and do a few laps around the block or whatever, and make sure that that bottom crank seal is all good, because there was an iffy sort of, it could have been on a little bit of an angle, but I got a brand new genuine Nissan seal in there now. So if it still leaks from the front of the motor somewhere, unfortunately it's going to be the VCT gear. So I don't really want to buy a new one. A new one's like $900. Just Jap do have them. There's a couple of used ones on Facebook Marketplace and Gumtree, but I've talked to about 6 different people at the moment, and every single person seems to be a scammer. I don't know what's going on. I don't know how you guys buy stuff off Facebook Marketplace. Every person I talk to seems to be a scammer. They're just recycling Google image pictures of the parts that I'm asking for, or they're advertising fake stuff, like, you know, a quarter of the price of everyone else. And then you look into their profile or their business, and it's just copied from something else. Or you Google image search their images, and they're from like a place in America, just they're stealing the images. So I don't know what to do. I'm probably gonna have to bite the bullet and just buy a brand new VCT gear from Just Jap for $900 and something, which is gonna kill me, but it is what it is. At least I know that that's never going to be a problem ever again. Hopefully, fingers crossed, if you guys could cross your fingers for me as well. If it all goes well tonight, in the next hour or so, I'm going to know tomorrow whether I'll be taking this through ID check, which I really, really, really hope I am. I can't wait to do that. It's sort of starting to stress me out a little bit. I'm trying to remember to enjoy it though. The only thing we have to do is these headlights. We have to swap those headlights. If I've got no leaks at the front, I'm going to start swapping the headlights tonight, and the car's going to be good to go. I can buy a unregistered vehicle permit, and that allows me to drive on the road without registration. So it's like a 1-day permit, and then I'm going to take it to the ID inspection and see how we go. It all rests on this VCT gear right here is the make or break. For the last time, fingers crossed, and see how we go. This one's actually pretty scary. So it's a pretty bloody tight bolt. We've got a flat little area here on the cam that we can stop the cam from turning. So we're going to lock it up here, and then we're going to get the proper outsized Allen key, and we've got our torque wrench. We'll set our torque wrench in a sec, but it's really tight. So I'm pretty sure it's like 120 Newton meters. I remember last time you're pushing, and you're just waiting for that cam to snap or that bolt to snap or something to happen. It feels abnormally tight, but in saying that, you wouldn't want that to come loose either. So it's good that it's tight. Let's lock it up and get it tightened up and throw this all back together. So it's saying that the first torque setting's 123. I'm probably going to go 115 to be safe. Oh man, that's so tight. All right, let's bump it up a little bit. Next one is 130 Newton meters. Now, before I do that, I'm just going to double check. 123 to 132 Newton meters, just off 130. We're in there properly. Oh, far out, man. That is crazy. Okay, we are back together, finally. That took a little bit longer than I wanted to. I'm getting the hang of it, getting distracted every 5 minutes, you know, the normal shit. We do have the motor back together. The only thing that isn't back together is I've just got to take these bolts out of that water pump pulley and put the radiator fan and shroud back in, which I just have to pop this off, and I did lose a little bit of coolant, so we'll top the coolant up again in a sec. I'm going to quickly rotate the motor a few times and just make sure we're still lining up with all our timing marks. You can see that mark there lined up with that little dot with that, and then right down there we're right on the timing mark. So it's all looking good at the moment. I've still got the motor locked up down the bottom, so I'll unlock that. I just double checked my torque on the crank pulley, so we're all good. You saw me do the torque on the cam gear, so we're all good there. So I reckon we're almost ready to start. It'll be another 5 or 10 minutes, chuck all this cooling stuff back in, then we're good to give her a start again finally. So just for safety, I'm going to turn the motor over a couple of times. We've got our 27mm socket. But we're going to chuck that 27mm socket on there. We're going to do 2 turns the right way. That's my very, very scientific way of locking up the motor. Let's unlock that. So we're going to do 2 revolutions, and that should bring out all of our timing marks, because obviously the crank turns twice. We're just coming up that red mark right there, and you can see that we are good with our cam gear, and we're good on there too. So we're good on both cams. Couple of revolutions. I've probably done 5 or 6 other revolutions off camera as well, so we're good to go. I reckon we are going to chuck that radiator fan and the radiator shroud back in, top up that coolant, bleed it up, and then give her a start. All right, it's cranking time. Let's do it. So I'm going to leave the crank angle sensor unplugged. I've got the plug here. Crank angle sensor is there unplugged, so it's not going to spark and it's not going to start up. We're just going to crank up some oil pressure. Whoa. We're on a fairly big lean here. So what we want to see, this one here, crank some oil pressure. We want to see that gauge go up. Be nice if that jumper pack worked. I think we had the ignition off. I think I had the ignition off, and this little button there we go, needs to go green, and we need to race. Wow. All right, I'm gonna put that battery on charge, and I'll be back with you in just a sec. We are definitely down a cylinder. All right, we're down a cylinder. Let's make sure we're still on TDC. I have a feeling maybe a coil pack plug might have come undone. One thing I didn't mention is, you know how I was blocking this hose off previously with the pliers? I actually put a metal bung in there, so it's something that's really, really tight. It doesn't fit back through that intake manifold, and doesn't fit back through that bend, obviously, so it can't go either way with boost or vacuum. But I have a feeling that the idle control valve was still getting a little bit of air when I was squeezing it with the pliers, which was the perfect amount for it to idle, whereas now it's getting absolutely nothing. So I'm going to pull that bung out and see if we have all our cylinders back. I'm probably underplaying the fact that I might have made a mistake, and we could have done some damage to the head and the valves. I mean, we have had the whole front of the motor off like 3 times now, so my odds of something slipping up or something messing up or me just forgetting something for a split second are increasing by the minute. But we've almost got this out. We're going to, I have a feeling, I'm hoping, the first thing that came to mind was there was 1 or 2 coil pack plugs that were a bit funny. I didn't turn the motor over, so there's no way we're going to hit any valves. Wiring is a little bit questionable, but They all look all good. That's a freaking disaster. I'm gonna unplug them, plug them all back in, and throw this back together and give it another start. I had to take the little bung out of that hose because it was stopping all the air, whereas those clamps let a tiny little bit of air through, so it still idles nicely with the clamps, but doesn't idle at all with the bung in there. So I'm probably gonna have to figure out whether I need to drill a little hole in that bung or whatever. I'll work that out when I need to. So we're about to start it up. After putting it all back together, we're gonna test that the cam gear doesn't leak. Fingers crossed it doesn't leak. I'm really hoping it doesn't leak. Ollie's going to give it a start. I'm going to hold the fan, and then I've got a little piece of paper here that I'm going to use to see whether there's any oil leaking. Fingers crossed, guys. Let's go give it a start, Ollie. Alright, so that clutch fan obviously is got a clutch in it, so if you hold it when it starts, it won't spin. Let's do a little test. We're going to do a little test to see whether there's any oil spraying. Is an absolute disaster, guys. Can you see that? So we've got oil spray on the paper, and it's not coming from behind, so it's not coming from a seal, it's coming from that cam gear. So it's coming from between the backing plate and that cam gear, and we're getting an oil spray on the paper. Damn. Damn. So let's do another spot. Where are we? Here. So I've got that sitting behind the cover. Not good at all. All right, we need to find ourselves a cam gear. Not good, man. Never ending. All right, it's all good. We can fix this nice and quickly. Once we find a cam gear, whether we end up buying a brand new one or getting a second-hand one, we're gonna have to jump on the computer and have a look what's out there.